Most writers for hire receive a flat fee or a relatively modest percentage of any money that the book earns. Trump and I haggled back and forth, the art of the deal, and ultimately he agreed to give me 50% of the $500,000 advance.
Hi there, and welcome. I am Hollow Tutor 5000.
86
This simulation will help you to understand how to use a lathe safely.
Ever earned in any year as a journalist. He also agreed to share 50% of any future royalties that the book earned. My mother, in particular, was appalled. She disdained any focus on making money. And by writing this book, I was putting my finger in her eye.
Trackpad button.
And although I didn't realize it at the time, it was my declaration of independence from her, perversely. Once the contract was signed, I arranged to meet Trump on Saturday mornings at his penthouse apartment in Trump Tower. My plan was to interview him for 2 or 3 hours at a time until I gathered enough material to write the book. I imagined it would take several dozen such meetings over the subsequent 6 or 8 months. It didn't take me long to realize I was kidding myself. In our very first interview, Trump became impatient after answering my questions after just a few minutes.
You can choose from
he
4
was more
tutorials
than
and a
to
series of missions.
Sound bites
to
virtually any reporter who called him at his office any time. But it was nearly impossible to keep him focused on any single topic
when you have selected an
for more than 5 or 10 minutes.
Press the level start panel
he had
below
a
to begin the session.
stunningly short attention
You will
span.
then teleport to the lathe room.
This is so boring, he would tell me with irritation a few minutes into any interview we did. I don't want to talk about what already happened. It's the past. It's over.
Feedback board.
If I managed to keep Trump answering my questions for 20 minutes, I considered it a major victory.
That is all from
he was like a
now.
kindergartner who couldn't sit still in a classroom.
Repeat.
My strong guess is that Trump has never read a book in his adult life, with the possible exception of those written for him, and very likely not most of those. I know from the red marks he made that he read the manuscript I wrote. At one point, Trump agreed to let me accompany him to Mar-a-Lago, his home in Florida, for a weekend. My plan was to jam in a whole series of interviews over 48 hours so I could get progress on this book I was struggling to get done.
During this tutorial,
his then wife,
how to use
Ivana,
the lathe safely. Do not forget, you can ask me to repeat
made it
what
clear
I said
that she
at
wasn't
any time
happy to
by
have
saying
me there.
help or repeat.
And that was understandable. He worked long hours during the week.
You should use one hand
didn't
or controller
spend,
to interact
time
with the tools
with them.
and work pieces.
And each time
Then
she
use the
walked
other
by
hand or
us
controller
with
to
one or
teleport
another of
and
his then
navigate
3
within
young
the work
kids
area.
in tow, she glared icily at me and at
Protective
him.
clothing is essential in the
I felt
workshop.
abashed.
Carefully
He
put
didn't
on the
seem to
safety
notice
glasses
or
which
care
are
a bit.
located on the workbench to protect
Trump
your eyes.
was about Trump. He had almost no interest in his wife or his children. What I didn't know at the time is that he was actively carrying on an affair with Marla Maples, the woman who would eventually and briefly become his second wife.
In this section, you will
More
learn how
important
to
to the
stop
story,
the machine quickly
long
using
before
the
lunch,
emergency stop button.
Trump stood up and announced
Set
that
the
he
speed
couldn't
of the motor using
stand
the
to
spindle
answer
speed
any more of
selector
my
handle.
questions. Didn't I have
Then
enough?
turn on the motor by pressing the small red button at
Plainly,
the top
I
of the
wasn't going to
headstock.
get a book's worth of material by trying to interview Trump.
You need to check that the chuck guard
Instead,
is
when we
closed
returned to
and
New
that the
York, I
emergency
simply
stop
began to
button
show
is
up at his
released.
office, most mornings around 9 a.m., and invariably Trump was on the phone when I arrived. With his permission, his delighted permission, were he to have been able to have another 10,000 or 10 million people listening, that would have been good.
You should never
from his
hesitate
perspective.
and press this
I would pick up an
immediately if there is
extension
an emergency.
8 feet away from him and listen in on his
Well
conversations for the next several hours and
Release
often
the
all day
emergency
long.
Stop button.
Over
To do
6
this, you need to
months,
press the
and then
emergency
intermittently
stop
over
button
the
again.
following year as I wrote the book.
Well done.
As I
Next,
look back,
you will learn about the safety
3
features
qualities
of the chuck guard.
beyond his inability to
Set the
focus
speed of the motor using
strike
the
me
spindle
as
speed
alarming
selector.
when I imagine him as president.
Then turn on
The
the motor
first
by pressing the
is
small
his
red
utter
button at the top of
disregard
the
for the
headstock.
truth and his lack
If
of
the motor
conscience
does not turn on, you need to
about
check
that
that the
fact.
chuck guard is closed
The
and that the
second is
emergency